Hi guys, welcome back to yet another fun DIY video here aboard good old Athena. In this video I again have the pleasure of having my girlfriend Ava here with me.
Hi guys. If you're new to this channel, this lovely boat behind me is Athena. She is a 1987 Warrior 38 that Mads and I hope to move aboard in about 2 years. Since last weekend we've been hard at work laying up glass here on the port side of the hull below the waterline.
All of the work we're doing here aboard Athena right now is a part of an osmosis treatment, and I want to be sure to mention that the materials we're using for that osmosis treatment are all sponsored by two companies, HF Marine and Industry here in Denmark and Wessex Resins and Adhesives in the UK. If your boat has osmosis, or maybe you're just curious about the topic, I highly recommend you check out this manual by Wessex. I'll include a link for the PDF version of this manual in the description down below.
We'll be following the process outlined in this manual with one addition, which is the glass we laid up this past week and what we'll be laying up this weekend.
About 8 or 9 years prior to me purchasing Athena, she'd already had her first osmosis treatment, and whoever did that job did something a little bit odd. I don't know how well it's going to show up on camera, but if you look here, there's a slight color change. The laminate up here is a little bit darker than back here. And that is because, for whatever reason, they decided to add just a little bit of extra glass here on the forward half of the hull. The glass they laid up is very, very thin. Just from eyeballing this, I'd say it's around 100 to 150 grams, meaning it's certainly not structural. When I took a closer look at the hull, it turned out that there wasn't a single blister on that forward half of the hull. However, the aft end of the hull had hundreds of blisters.
We don't really know why they added an extra layer of fiberglass, but it did stop the blisters from developing, and that is why we're going to add an extra layer to the entire hull.
I do have a couple of explanations as to why that little bit of extra glass helped, but let's go ahead and save the guesswork for another video. I will say the barrier coat was the same all over the hull. The only difference between the two areas was that little bit of extra glass. Anywho, let's get the starboard side of the hull prepped. As you might be able to tell up here where Ava's outlined some imperfections in the hull, the surface of the hull is a little bit rough. I used a pressure water with some sand to blast away any loose laminate. Before we start laying up glass, I'm just going to take the angle grinder to these areas just to smooth them out and make absolutely sure we've gotten rid of all the loose laminate. So much for this round of glorious sanding. I don't know if it's going to show up on camera, but I am absolutely drenched. That was like being wrapped in a plastic bag in the middle of a desert. But let's take a closer look at the hull. After Ava pulled off the peel ply, and we'll get back to the function of the peel ply a little later in this video, I smoothed the transitions between the new laminate and the old laminate, simply just to make it a little bit easier for us to lay up glass. I did that in all of the areas where the new laminate from the port side sort of overlaps over to the starboard side. And I also smoothed out all of the areas we had outlined where the hull was a little bit too rough. While I was busy sanding the hull, Ava's been cutting strips of fiberglass for us to lay up on the hull. Having a girlfriend is a really, really big help.
We just finished wiping down the hull because it was dusty from when Mads was sanding it, and now we are getting ready to lay up the glass, but first we have to figure out how to get this thing out of the way.
One of the very common questions we get on YouTube is, how do you get to the areas underneath the stands? And as you can see here, Athena is supported by 4 stands in the cradle she sits in, and well, removing one of them is really easy. It just requires a hammer. As you can see here behind me, Athena sits perfectly fine on just the 3 stands. Now, I'm comfortable removing one of them at a time, not 2, just the one. Some people might want to brace the hull when doing that, should be extra safe, but I feel comfortable doing this. I'm sure Ava's not going to get squished to death. I mean, we're not going to leave the boat unsupervised like this, and we're certainly not going to be jumping around up top. Like I said, I am very comfortable doing this. While I've been busy yammering on, Ava's been pumping epoxy so that we have something to wet out the new glass with. The first step, however, is to apply a very thin coat of unthickened epoxy to the hull. To To be more precise, what Eva's been doing is to put 10 pumps of resin into little plastic cups. That way we have little 10 pump cups already pre-pumped. That way, whenever we need some epoxy, we can just grab one of those cups and quickly add 10 pumps of hardener. Once the surface is just lightly wetted out, it's very easy to see where the hull is a bit rough from blasting with that sand. And we are going to fill all of this unevenness up with a tiny bit of thickened epoxy. This is just a little bit of 105 thickened with 406, and we're not going to use a lot of it, but just enough to fill up those little pinholes. An added bonus is that it seems like the fiberglass sticks a little better to the surface once we've applied this first, and makes it easier to get everything lined up. Checking the surface, it seems like we've gotten it pretty smooth now, so let's go ahead and get some glass up.
Yes.
Yep. With the fiberglass now held in place, we can go ahead and get it wetted out. This was just a small patch to make up for the fact that this is kind of a weird shape. Now we can go ahead and switch to full length. And that is basically the process. Lightly wet out the surface, apply a little bit of thickened epoxy, wet out the surface again, up goes the fiberglass, and then it's just a matter of wetting it out. There is actually one more very important step to the process, and that is to get the peel ply on here before the epoxy starts curing. So you kind of want to work in sections, but we'll get back to that tomorrow. Good morning, guys. We were here all day yesterday. Laying up laminate on the side of the hull is a lot of work, but we'd rather put in the little bit of extra effort now and hopefully only have to do the osmosis treatment once. Like I've mentioned before, we'll be using Wessex's 422 additive in combination with 105 instead of a more traditional paint-based barrier coat. Let me just point out that the extra layer of fiberglass Eva and I are adding to the side of the hull is not recommended by Wessex. It's something we're doing on our own, and it's just a little bit of added insurance. Wessex recommends you just use 600 microns of 422 plus 105, and I'm sure that's perfectly fine, but a little bit of overkill never hurts. This is how far we got yesterday, and as you can see, we still have a little ways to go, but with just a tiny bit of luck, we should be able to finish the starboard side of the hull today. For us to continue working from where we left off yesterday, all we have to do is just to remove this piece of peel ply, but I think I'll have my lovely assistant do the pulling. There are some noteworthy benefits to using peel ply. For one, it greatly cuts down on the amount of sanding you'll have to do, it eliminates any concerns about amine blush, and it leaves a nice, relatively smooth surface behind. If you look at the side of the hull here where we had the peel ply, you can see that there is a bit of texture to the surface, and that's what eliminates the need for sanding. But as you can also see, like I said, the surface is relatively smooth. If we take a look at the outside of the peel ply, you can see that the surface is very glossy and that there is a tiny bit of amine blush. If we hadn't used this peel ply, this is what the surface of the hull would look like, and we'd have to wash it to get rid of the amine blush and then sand it to key the surface so that we can continue working. When using epoxy rather than a laminating polyester resin, you can't simply just come back, say, the day after and continue adding to your laminate. You need to make sure that that surface is prepped, and that is what the peel ply does for us. If we take a closer look at the hull, you can see this glossy strip here, And that's where I was a little bit skimpy with the peel ply yesterday. I got epoxy on this, but I didn't put peel ply over it, so now I'll have to wash this and sand it. Fortunately, here in the sweat lodge, that is the shed, it won't take long for this to dry. I'm using a little bit of water, just plain water, no soap, to rinse off that soapy water. And of course, the reason we're doing the whole washing thing is just to get rid of that amine blush, so that when we start sanding, we're not just going to be spreading it around. Thanks to the magic of peel ply, that is all the sanding I'll have to do today before we're ready to start laying up more laminate. That's pretty good.
We are done. We finished laying up glass on the hull.
Yep, well, we're done with the port side and the starboard side. There's still the small matter of the teeny tiny transom.
Right, but that's teeny tiny.
Yeah, and we'll take care of that tomorrow. So we will see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning.
Good morning, guys. It's Sunday morning, and like we said yesterday, the only part of the hull where we have to lay up glass is on the transom.
To be more precise, it is not the entire transom we're going to have to cover in glass. It's just this teeny tiny little area here. But there's going to be something a little bit tricky here.
These are so much better than the stupid knife from last weekend's video.
Last weekend, I removed 2 old through holes from the transom. The shiny looking spiffy one over here is of course one of the new ones. These 2 are a dimensional match, and you might be thinking to yourself now, oh, that sounds nice and easy. Yes, if only life was that easy. At some point there must have been bigger through holes in here, or maybe Athena was just shipped with these from the yard, but look at all this play. I mean, that is just crazy. To be able to show you guys a little better, I've just popped the through hole in the wrong way around, and look at this. There is a gap of over a centimeter around this thing. That is absolutely nuts. This is way too loose for my liking. If I had the time, and if I was planning on painting the top sides, I'd go ahead and grind the classic 1:12 bevel on this, glass everything over and let it cure, and then drill new, tighter holes for these through holes. Psst, if you hear whispering in the background, it's just Ava doing an Instagram post somewhere. But seeing as I am very pressed for time and I don't want to expand the scope of my already pretty large project, we're going to have to be a little bit creative. I won't be able to finish these 2 holes in this video because I'm going to have to lay up a bit of laminate to make my little fix here. So just consider this a little bit of a teaser for next weekend's video. But what we can go ahead and do is to get the surface up here prepped and get that last layer of glass up there. That way the entire hull will be done. A fun little side note, I think I figured out why someone wrapped a ton of Teflon tape around the old through holes. I think it's simply just an attempt to take up some of that space between the hull and the through hole. If we poke around here inside of the hole, there's also what appears to be, yep, silicone in there. God dang it. The fact that it's silicone in there is not the end of the world. It's just a little bit annoying because silicone is difficult to clean up, because even a tiny bit of silicone can mess up a lot of stuff. So we'll have to be very careful when we're cleaning out those holes. But let's go ahead and get that surface prepped. I've gone ahead and used my trusty scraper to remove the silicone, so we're not just spreading that around when I start sanding. And just like that, the surface is all prepped for glass. Glass that my super awesome girlfriend is already busy cutting, so we should be ready to get started in no time.
how high you want it.
Just higher than up to this blue, for instance. Woohoo! We are officially done laying up glass. I'm not gonna lie, it is pretty freaking awesome to be done laying up glass.
Yes, let's never do that again.
No, never again. Now, this video is gonna be a little bit short, but that's because it's Ava's last weekend here and we wanna get in a little bit of time off camera. So yeah, but before I end this video, there's one little thing I wanna show you. Every once in a while, I come by a product that I just wish I'd known about before, something that really speeds up my work or makes life a lot easier. And these are a good example of that. There's nothing magic about these. These are just roller covers made by Wessex. I got a bunch of them when I picked up the products that were sponsored by HF Industry and Marine here in Denmark and Wessex resins and adhesives in the UK. But they work a lot better than anything I've ever tried before. Over the years, I've used all kinds of rollers or brushes or even squeegees to wet out fiberglass, but there is something about these rollers that makes it easier. I'm assuming it has something to do with the texture of them. They're made out of a pretty thin, yellow, somewhat squishy foam, and yeah, I am gonna pick up a bunch more of these and just have them lying around the boat because to me, these are somewhat of a game changer. So one benefit to the Wessex rollers is the fact that it seems like it's easier to wet out the fiberglass. Another one is the fact that these more traditional rollers, at least this kind here, has a lot thicker foam, which will hold more resin. And the more resin is sort of clumped together, the quicker it kicks off, meaning this is gonna turn hard pretty dang fast if you're working somewhere where it's a little warm, like here in the shed. I better stop yammering on and spend a bit of time with my girlfriend. But I'll be back next weekend where I'm gonna start fairing the sides of the hull. So I guess that is gonna be it for this video. But as always, feel free to leave a comment down below. And don't forget, if you've enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like.
Thanks for letting me hang out with you guys.
See you.
See you.
Are you ready?
Mm-hmm. Good morning, guys. Wait, do I have to wait? Is the camera on? That's why we only want to do it once, so we only have to do the osmosis treatment once. That's why what? Oh, we want to put in the extra treatment. What did I do before?
So you did okay.
Okay.
Just make sure. Okay, you just go.
Okay. Wait, I'm not ready. Here all day yesterday. Laying up the laminate is hard work. That's why we would put into the
what?
I would like to put in a little bit of the effort now so we won't have to do the osmosis treatment again.
Okay, that was not right.
What am I saying?
Good morning, guys. We were here all day yesterday.
For now, so we only have to do it once.
Hopefully only have to do it once.
So we hopefully.
Yep.
On the side of the hull is a lot of work. That's why we want to put in a little bit. That's why what?
That's why laying up laminate on the side of the hull is a lot.
Put in
A little bit of extra
a
effort
little bit
now,
of
and
extra
hopefully
effort now, and hopefully only have to do it once. But we'd rather a lot of work.
Should I just do it?
Yes.
Okay.
What is it?
Got 'em.
Lovely boat behind me is Athena.
No clapping.
I'll clap you.
Yes, please.
Okay, okay. If you're new to this channel, this lovely boat.
Don't start with that.
At work, laying up glass below the water line on the port side. Okay. Glass on is the hull.
Transom.
Hey guys, it's Sunday morning and was I supposed to say good morning?
Yeah.
Oh.
It is morning.
Good morning, guys. It is You can't do that as a blooper. Good morning, guys. It's Sunday morning.
Okay. Okay.
What did we say? What?
Good morning, guys. It is Sunday morning.